Have you ever been gaming or working online classes and your internet service constantly gets interrupted? First Nations Fiber is about to ensure that just won't happen again. Get ready for high speed at a new level. Click on fnfiber.com and sign up today. First Nations Fiber, empowering people through connectivity.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Beading Table with your hosts, myself, Leith Makiwa, and my co-host, Degoriakwa Margaret Standup. How is everybody doing out there? Hopefully everybody is maybe sitting at a table with their beads in front of them, waiting for that inspiration to hit, or productively procrastinating and painting their house, or in line for a hot fall drink. Wherever you are, we are here to tantalize you with some, I don't know, information about beading, some like info on what we're doing, and maybe just one or two good laughs. So, Yakwa, how are you doing?
I'm okay, I guess. No.
She's suffering from a little bit of
I don't know
hacker's cough.
Yeah, I don't know why. So no, I'm good. I'm just living life.
Living life.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been living on paint fumes these past couple days. Yeah. So I kind of fall into the procrastinator, but I've changed the term. It's called productively procrastinating because I'm using my time to get away from beading projects, but doing things that are productive. Like, not to say that it's not cool to like sit on the couch and watch TV and eat bonbons, which everybody knows all us housewives do, or people who live at home. Yeah, right. But I mean, a lot of times what happens is that when I have a project, or maybe it's even like during the seasons and projects like start, like, normally spring, you're thinking about graduation, fall, you're thinking about what maybe you're doing for maybe selling for the holidays or whatnot, stuff like that. And then usually during the summer, a lot of people aren't really thinking about projects. But for myself anyway, I like to like try to get my surroundings in order. Usually it might start with like a huge cleanup, usually at the shop, at my studio sometimes. And that happened already. It's kind of like crazy again, but whatever. But then I like to do things at home. And because I spent a fair bit of time away from home this past year, I've really like reevaluated my space, our spaces. Cause like, of course I have 4 other people who live at home with me, and just thought, like, let me put some love into this place and try to organize it and really just like freshen it up, which means like paint. Cause that is financially one of the easiest ways to freshen up a place. That and to like, wash all your sheets and your blankets and all those kind of things. And not to say that I don't do it often, but like, with the nice cool air out, and it's still thankfully nice and sunny here. And it hasn't been raining the last week. I've been able to do that. So it's like just really freshening my place. So that's what I've been doing. But I brought my stuff home last night after I stopped by the shop yesterday, picked up some leather to cut out some moccasins and sew them, and didn't get it done. Nothing. But you know what? I'm okay with it. My work schedule has allowed me now like 1 week of work and 1 week off of work. So my plan was to make this week my week to be beading. But really, I just said, you know what? Let me just get myself in order and that, and maybe make some applesauce today. Maybe go out to the farms and pick up some seconds, like, the apples that aren't necessarily the best looking apples. Like there's grades, right, of apples. Yeah. So I usually buy the ones that aren't the best ones so that I can buy a bulk and not have to pay like high prices. Mm-hmm. Don't buy your produce at the local fruit stand because usually that's retail. You want to go right to the apple, like the orchards, if you can buy from there because it's
Cool.
But yeah, that's what I've been doing. And I saw you post on Instagram. You're refreshing your space too.
Oh my God. I was like manic cleaning last night. I just had like a second wind. I don't know why, but it was our fridge, purging the fridge. We just like, I don't know what the hell we do sometimes.
You mean like buying too many condiments or like everything. Leftover food?
Yeah, everything right now. Okay. And it's kind of like, there was just so much junk in there. Like just, I found like a liquidated, liquefied like zucchini. I was like, what? Oh,
I've had some cilantro go bad. I mean, I've had lots of things, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's just basically like how my house feels right now. Maybe to other people, they'd be like, no, it's not. But I feel like I know where all those
like, your space.
Yeah. So I haven't been keeping up with a lot of things right now, like lately. So I'm like, we're going up north this weekend. So
Okay.
last night I just went to get a couple of groceries for when we go up and whatever. And I was like, I don't even have room in my fridge. And there's like nothing in that fridge that's like probably edible at this point. And I'm like, what the hell? So I have like this massive like cooking pot that I made soup, I think like 4 days ago. And
Oh, you didn't put it into a Tupperware to put into the fridge?
no, and yeah, so the whole damn pot was in there, so it takes up like the whole space and whatever. So anyways, that was what I was doing last night, just so that I could put the new groceries in
And then take them out for today.
yeah. So, but I was like, you know what? Let me wash down everything and clean it. And I had seen this video. It said to try it out, whatever, to put your condiments in the drawers.
And your stuff that you eat on the sides. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we have like a little
condiment drawer.
Yeah. Well, the condiment drawer, but now it's like you open the door and like all the fruits are like on the door. So, and it worked because then my son opened the fridge this morning and he looked. There was blueberries that have been sitting there for about 3 days now. Nobody touched them. I really cleaned everything, went through it, and I put it into this one of the little drawers on this, not a drawer, but you know what I mean? Like
like
whatever.
The section that holds what would be condiments, right?
Yeah. So I put them all in there like with a paper towel underneath. And then he started eating them. I'm like, exactly. That's what I want you to do.
But usually they're in a drawer or usually they're just on a shelf? Because
they're just like wherever there's space.
Oh, like just stuffed or yeah.
Yeah. And for the most part, I try to keep things organized. And if it's just me and like whatever, but that's not everybody else's way of life in my house. So everything gets like just pushed everywhere. And anyways, so that's what I was doing last night at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And then doing laundry last minute because I'm like, well, we're going up north. Like we need blankets, we need whatever and clothes. So it was a big crazy mess last night. So yeah, but that's what I was doing, just getting ready. We are also celebrating my brother's big 50 birthday we're celebrating today. It's tomorrow though. But we decided to do cake at my mother's tonight. So yeah, I just been busy. It's like, that's how life is lately. Yeah. It's just been busy, doing different little things, running around. And it feels like, okay, I just got to do this. But then you get there and it's like, okay, well, I also just got to do this. Then I got to do this. So then by the end of the day, it's like, I feel like I did everything and nothing all at once. So I haven't been beading. I haven't been doing anything. A while ago, I was cooking noodles and...
For the weekend or for this?
Yeah, like I figure I'll just cook everything like today and then assemble it there. And I managed to get one leaf on something. And I was like,
beading wise. Okay.
So I was like, hey, I did a little bit, but it's not even something that I should be beading right now. Like I still haven't finished that other order. That's my plan for this weekend. So we'll see if that happens. Yeah. But that's where life is for me right now. It's like very not chaotic. It's not like in a bad way. It's just busy. It's like busy and not busy, and I don't know. Nothing's getting done. So,
yeah, I haven't really been beading, like I said, since the Indian market, really. But last week I only worked 3 days last week. It was my ease into back to the realities of life, I guess. So I worked at the store for 2 days. It was interesting because I was really productive. It's like, I only got 2 days. I got to get there. So I got there and I was able to really design things that I needed to design. Like both my sons are graduating this coming year, 2025, one from grade 11 and one from the adult immersion. So I designed their cuffs already, which means the base for their whole outfits are basically ready. Thankfully, well, I shouldn't say thankfully. I kind of made an error, I guess, in my judgment of what I did, in the sense that I've designed something and I thought one son would like it. So I just said, let me just send it to both of them to see how it is, like what they think of it. They both liked what I did.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh my goodness. But I had intended it for one because I thought the other one wouldn't like it. And then, so what I did is I quickly drew up another something. And then that evening I showed it to my other son and I said, do you like this? Because if you like this is what will be for yours. But I had then asked his older brother, do you mind if your things are similar? Like if they're like kind of not necessarily the elements are the same, But some of them are the same.
Yeah.
And he said, no, I don't mind at all. So when I showed my younger son, he said, yeah, I like this. And I was like, okay, good. Because I said, because I sent it to you and I thought you wouldn't like it, the first one. And now I try to do whatever.
Yeah.
So thankfully that's done. And so now like I can just move forward on that and then make on cuffs and all the other jazz that they want. So it's kind of interesting now how they're going to be kind of matching, because when they both graduated from, well, one graduated from grade 11 and one graduated from grade 6, the same thing happened. Their designs were very similar. So yeah. So now I gotta start like sewing and stuff.
All that fun jazz.
All that fun stuff, which isn't bad because I mean, I don't mind sewing for my kids. Like, because not to say you don't have to do it well, but you're not worried about somebody looking at the seam or doing any of that kind of stuff. And
like the added pressure too from like an outside source looking
yeah.
at the
Yeah. And then I got to reach out to my niece because she's also graduating from grade 11. So her mother asked me if I would help and to do that. And I said, for sure, because I did her grade 6. So that's good. And then I took on another project, but we won't talk about that one. I took on another project and then now I'm like, oh my God. And I'm hoping to do something special later on, but I'm not sure yet. So, and then I got all those other things, but I have officially not applied to the Herd Indian market.
Oh, no.
No, it's too much. I just figured I don't want to stress. Like, I think I got spoiled from last year about not stressing about having to go to a show or doing a project or something that now I'm just like, I don't really want to do that. Like, I don't really have anything mesmerizing or really, I mean, aside from my kids stuff, which I think is going to be really nice, but I don't have anything in my creative mind that's just going to flow out to make something awesome. And so I'm just like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Yeah. But I booked for Santa Fe at my Airbnb, and so that's done. God. I canceled one because it didn't really seem like it would work. And then so I got a different one. And I think it'll work better. So we'll see. It's kind of just near where I usually stay, which is like my stomping ground, which I know, like, like sometimes it just feels good to be
where
I know I couldn't get the same place I was at this year and 2 years prior. So I got a different place. So yeah, so I'm doing that. And then maybe I'll book my flights soon because you can book your flights already.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So, because as long as you're 1 year out from your potential time that you're going, you can book. Yeah. So that's good. And
I'm like I don't know, I'm in a funk. Like, I just feel like I'm not in a headspace or like, I'm doing that procrastination kind of thing where it's just like, okay, let me lay everything out. I put all my beads out. I get everything ready. And then I just go start doing something else.
Really?
Yeah. Like, it's been sitting on
my tease. It's like a tease almost.
Yeah. It's just been sitting there. And I have 2 projects like that order and another project that I just been kind of going back and forth with. Mm-hmm. And I literally am saying like, I'll do 2 stitches on a rope stitch. And then I'm like, oh, let me go do laundry. Okay. And then I'll do that all day. And then I won't go back to it.
I mean, you'll do laundry or you'll just do things aside from like, I won't go back to
everything else. So I don't know if it's the weather. Like, I can't function in warm weather.
Yeah, it's like, warm now. It's like you were just saying that. Yeah.
It's like a second summer now. So I can't do that really. I don't know. And I just feel like my brain is just like kind of shut off right now from creativity. Like,
Well, I think too, like, you were at the shop and there was like areas that didn't necessarily have stock, and then all of a sudden, or something was going on, like, in what we mentioned it yesterday, like you make room for new things and things come back, like, new things take its place or something like that. So
yeah, making space. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm doing similar, like what you were saying with my home. Like, I just want to get my whole life together right now. I want to get my whole life together.
Does anybody else feel like they need to get their whole life together?
I don't know. Maybe it's the moon or something.
Well, there was a super moon and there was a full, there was a super moon just 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Or 1 day ago. I can't remember. Yeah.
Yeah. But we're still, I think too, like, I don't think I talked about this the last time because Grant was on. But everyone knew, like, my daughter and all that, her surgery. She had 1 surgery. I didn't talk about the second surgery.
Yes.
So I'll just recap or talk about that a little bit. So my daughter, last year, or not even, just in the spring, she had a surgery. She had a cyst in her ankle and
everything was okay after that first initial surgery.
Yeah. So all of that happened and it seemed to be okay. Like, we were already past the 6-week mark and whatever. And she required physio, so we were going to physio and whatever, and it was there where we, like, the girl was kind of like, okay, well, it's like her foot wasn't, it was still in a lot of pain. Like, then we had seen her surgeon and he was like, oh, okay, hi, how are you? Like, everything's great. You're walking. And she was like, no, like.
Because she couldn't put weight on her foot, right?
She was still like limping. It was almost like it was locked. Like her ankle wouldn't bend like a certain way. So I could see it right away on his face. He was like, oh. And then he was like, okay, I'm going to send you for x-rays right now. And I kind of figured, but I didn't really know. I don't know nothing about any of this. So he sent us for x-rays and he's like, okay, if anything comes back, I'll call you right away. Or if not, then it's fine. And I'll see you in a few weeks. So I was like, okay. We left the hospital. I literally got onto the highway and the phone rang. I was like, no, that means there's something wrong. Like something's there, you know.
But you know what? It was kind of like divine intervention in a sense where we were at the shop and you happened to call and then somebody called you and then it was like, come here now.
Yeah,
it was like
instant.
Really, it was like, it was real. It worked out really well in the sense that you found out that this was happening and you got everything rolling. So that was really good.
It all, kind of, it went quick. This time it was like, I was like really pleased with the process of everything. Like it just sucks that the whole thing happened again, but we're not really 100% sure what happened. Like, it seemed like the bone caved in though, that was repaired, somewhere along the way. I know she did fall at one point or she almost fell down a friend's stairs. So she had to step on it and brace herself. So that could have done it, whatever. So anyways, it happened. So, but this time around the surgery went really great. Like I was anticipating like the first time where it was like horrible, you know, like she was there for 4 days on like major pain management. Like, she had a really rough time the first time. So I was like, oh, okay, we're going to get ready. We're going to be at the hospital for a few days and whatever. And first day out of surgery, she was already like, can we go downstairs? Like, and totally like, even the nurse was kind of like, wait, like she was like expecting her to, I guess, be a little bit worse. But yeah, she was like really, really good. So the next day they actually let her out. So we got home and everything. So she's been recovering really good. Things are getting better. We just have to see now. What ended up happening was it was kind of like it was still locked in one area. There was a bone restricting her shin bone, basically. So it's like where the ankle and shin meet. That's where it was like restricting. So she couldn't really bend the proper way, like to walk. So now he released that. They had to remove like a sliver of bone so that she could get that motion back. So we just have to wait now. She's going for x-rays in a few weeks. I think 2 more weeks we have to wait. X-rays, and then she'll be able to start walking on it. And then that's when we'll really be able to, and we'll be able to see like to what extent where she's at. And hopefully that's it. Like she'll be good, you know? So, but yeah, she starts physio in a few weeks too. So we're doing all of that. But yeah, it was a wild ride. I'm just glad it like turned out a lot better than the first time, you know?
Sure.
So, but I just feel like things are on hold. I don't know if there's like just stored up, pent up, like my own shit where I'm like, ugh, I'm just not in a space where I'm like, I just want to lay on my couch and like.
It's almost like the coast isn't clear yet. Like, you know, like it's like you're waiting for this next bit of information.
Yeah.
There's no sign or nothing shows that it's going to be bad, but you just don't know.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what's.
We just been like, no, it's good. You're good. Yeah. It's all good. We're all good. Everyone's great. Grand, you know, kind of thing. So just trying to be more optimistic this time. Like, because the first time I was like, oh my God, like doom and gloom, you know. So this time I'm like, nah, you'll be all right. It'll be all right. And even if it's not, it'll be all right. We'll figure it out. So, but yeah, that's where I'm at kind of. And just, that's it.
It's interesting. I mean, maybe like talking about something that's kind of related to this, but yesterday I went to visit my mother and she goes, this is like, what's going on, whatever. And she's like, oh, I have to make an appointment, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I'm like, okay. And so she made an appointment yesterday and she went yesterday after. It was nothing major. And so she went to an appointment yesterday. And so last night before I went to sleep, or when I finally like settled down and remembered, I said, oh, let me text her, see what's going on. She didn't answer. And then in the morning I checked to see if she saw and she didn't. And I was like, hey, just wondering what's going on. and she didn't respond. And then I was like, okay, now she lives with my brother. How am I going to write him so that it doesn't trigger something like, like the last thing you want to say is like, have you heard from mom? Blah, 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 but at the same time, you kind of have to ask the question because if you want to know. So I'm like, hey, just wondering if you heard from mom, if you talked to her since she went to the doctors or whatever. And he's like, and he goes, no, why? And I was just like, and you don't want to set somebody else off in the sense like, like you don't want to lead with a loaded question or whatever. And like, whatever. But that's what happens because that's just like, the question is kind of like, have you heard from mom? Like, as if like, whatever. So he wrote back, why? I go, because she hasn't. And then as I was writing, you could see that she had
she's typing.
She's typing. I said, she went to the doctors, whatever, hadn't heard from her. Now I see she's typing. Everything is okay. And he's like, is it okay? And I didn't answer the question because I just wrote a thumbs up.
Yeah.
And then he writes again and I'm like, and then I had to laugh and she hadn't mentioned, everything was fine, whatever. It was a minor thing. But then I had to write him like, like, I tried to not write it in a way that would be like, make you worry, LOL. But then he was like, and then he writes, I was worried. I'm like, I know, sorry. I said, but I mean, this is one of the things like we both are at the age and in the stage where our parents are older. And sometimes you have to do that kind of stuff where you're checking in on them, just checking in, like, or like they have ailments that they were looking out for their parents when they were younger. And now we're in that same age. And so it was just like, yeah, everything's good, like, yeah. So it was just interesting because now we rely so much on text, right? And so I wasn't going to call him. Like, I don't know if he's at work or he's doing whatever, all kind of stuff. And sometimes like reception is spotty and whatnot and whatever, all that kind of stuff. But that's what I realized that now you still have younger children. I have a lot younger children than you. Have one child that's a lot younger than yours. But it's like we're dealing with the same, thing. We're not responsible for our parents, but you're still you're obviously still worried more than I would have been in my 30s when my other children were younger. I wasn't worried necessarily about my parents' health because, well, nothing was wrong, but now like, even just like, oh yeah, I have to go to the doctors for something minor. I'm just like, what's going on?
Yeah. Like, why? Why do you need to go?
Why do you need to go? Is everything okay? How was the appointment? And I want that whole rundown, and it was just funny because you brought up your daughter, and that's like kind of the same thing what happens with aging parents. And I'm pretty sure a lot of our listeners are probably either going through that or might be the parent themselves who have children who are, making sure their
health is
health is good. And I told my brother, I said, I'm sure there's a meme about this somewhere, or some kind of short video that has one of those little kids like doing something and it's some kind of music playing or whatever. But yeah,
well, that's how it was too. Like when the day before she was going in for her surgery too, like a few weeks ago, my son came home and he was like, and my son does not complain. He is not a complaining type of child. Meaning
he's like a go with the flow kind of kid.
Well, yeah. Yes and no sometimes. But it's kind of like he doesn't complain in the sense like if he's hurt or if there's anything like that.
Yes, that's true.
Does not tell us. He doesn't say anything. He just, I don't know if he has a high pain threshold or what, but yeah. So he didn't really complain. Like he had a lacrosse tournament the week before and he did mention that he got hit like not where the pads were on his arm and that it was sore and whatever. And that was it. So now it's like almost a week later and now he was like, I can't even sleep though. Now it is hurting. And I'm like, okay, like.
Why didn't you say something earlier?
So I was like, okay. I said, and he's like, do you think I can go get it checked though now? So I was like, I guess. But
you can't say
like,
no, but now.
Yeah, I was like, well, yeah, of course. But now I was like, oh shit. Like now what, because I was like, it's hard to get an appointment. And I'm like, he's over 18. So I was like, no, I love the children's. Now I have to bring you to shitty
wherever.
Somewhere else. And I'm like, So anyways, I managed to get an appointment in town. They ended up taking him the day it was.
Not that we think that other places are not great places to go for medical care. It's just that when your children are small and it's easier just to go to the children's hospital.
They have everything there. They've always been great with my kids. We've practically lived there. So like they've always been great with us. So I was like, no, like, no, I got to find somewhere else that's good, you know? Anyways, the clinic in town, they were really great. They took him, and within an hour, though, they saw him, whatever. They want to make sure there was no break.
And they have an x-ray machine.
Well, theirs wasn't up and running, but we ended up going to Chattagee, and everything went really quick.
Good, okay.
So the next day now, but we had to wait. She was like, you're not going to get the results though until Friday. So I was going and I was just like, okay. So now I had to make a plan. Like, okay, we're going to be at the hospital with my daughter because she's going to be in surgery. Yes. We're going to be waiting. And now I have to keep my phone on because I have to wait for her surgeon to call me. And then I got to wait for his doctor to call me to tell me if his arm is broken. And then I have to call my mother-in-law to pick him up to go and have it casted. I was just like, these kids are trying to freaking kill me and give me like,
like an aneurysm.
I was just, So it's like that kind of bullshit, you know, where it's like just little things all on top of each other where I was like, oh my God. So I think that's the residue that I'm still just trying to like, I don't know, like get rid of, or just, it's like, I need like a lot of mindless things right now, and beadwork right now is not mindless to me.
Oh, okay.
I just need to like sit on my phone and like melt my brain. Yeah. That's what, like, that's what I've been doing. And you know how we are, like most women feel guilty for doing that. Yeah. Like, so I don't anymore. Cause I was like, I don't give a shit. I'm laying in bed.
You mean like recently, like you felt guilty?
Yeah, because I was like, I'm burning my whole day away. Like I would get up. Normally I'm like very productive in the morning with whatever.
Yeah.
And lately I've just been like, let me go lay it back down in bed. And then I scroll for it. I'm like, oh my God, it's like 2 hours later. And I, just been rotting in bed. So, but I need it right now. It's just kind of like, I have no momentum. I have no like, I do believe it's a bit of a burnout, probably just from last year and this year and everything, like residual. So I'm just kind of like going with the flow and just trying to be a little bit more gentle to myself.
That's good.
Yeah. And trying to, I guess, weed out like what I need to do, what I don't really need to do, those kind of things, like prioritize. I'm just prioritizing everything right now and trying not to feel guilty about it and like not beat myself up or, different things. So it's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people don't have, men and women or anybody really don't. It's often hard to practice grace for yourself than it is to have for anybody else. And just have that grace and that space and just breathe it out and not have to worry and not worry about being worried that you're letting somebody else down, because the more we try to help ourselves and find space for ourselves, it really does help everybody around us. Right. And so hats off to you for taking the time to do that.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here like crying.
But that's okay, because that's like, when it happens, it happens. And a lot of times when we try to stop those kind of things from happening, it just makes us feel a lot worse. So just like taking the time to even do this and even to share with our listeners and with myself. And we've often cried in front of each other just because we are just tapped out and we just feel sometimes alone and all those other things. And I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same way often. And it's just taking the time to sit in there and acknowledge that and be kind to ourselves.
Yeah.
Kind to each other.
And I think that like for me, recently, that's how I started to realize like that I was kind of probably back in a little bit of a burnout was my anxieties. Came back like maybe a few months now, maybe about 2 months I noticed it. So I know I've talked about it in the past, like having anxiety and stuff like that, but I never went into it. I probably won't go into full details or whatever, but years ago, like I did have severe debilitating to the point where like I couldn't drive. I had a hard time leaving my house. There were times where I was afraid to be home alone, or alone with my kids, because I felt like, what if something happens?
And they were younger at the time too.
Yeah, when they were smaller, like I was like really consumed by it. I'm pretty sure that I did have like postpartum after my 2 children. When they were 2, at the age of 2, for the 2 of them, it came on where I had like severe anxiety and like
At the time, did they know, like, was that like at a time when postpartum was something that people talked about, or?
I believe so.
Okay.
But it was, I don't think it was, like it was only, well, my son's 18, but yeah, like people
like
were
16,
talking.
yeah.
People were talking about it, but it's also, if you're not talking about it,
Yeah.
how do you know?
How do you know? Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of where I was at. It was like that. It's funny how it works. Like now I don't feel ashamed about talking a lot about things.
About anxiety or just in general? Like mental health?
Yeah, all of it. Like I don't care about talking about it. But at the time, I guess when you're in it and for me, it was not knowing what was wrong. Mm-hmm. And sorry.
It's okay.
That was the hard part for me. It was just like feeling like you're alone. People aren't going to understand. Mm-hmm. You don't know what the hell is going on with you. So that's the part that was hard. So then trying to deal with that alone, and trying to hide it, basically. I was trying to hide it from Greg. I was trying to hide it from my mother, like everybody. And my mother knew immediately, like, that something was off. She can always tell, like, if, Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So anyways, that's how life was for me for a long time.
So what are some of the things that you did to help alleviate maybe the mindset of anxiety?
Well, there was a lot at the time. Counseling was first and foremost because I was like, I need a safe space as much as my mother, helped. Greg helped once he knew, once he was aware of what was going on. But
how long did you suffer with that by yourself?
Years.
Really?
Yeah.
Before you told him?
No.
Oh, no. Like before you like let him in. Because I mean, I'm sure it's like letting your guard down, right?
Well, yeah, I think because in the beginning I didn't know what was going on. So how do you even communicate? Like, oh yeah, well this, I'm afraid to drive because I'm afraid of what, it just seems so crazy and irrational that it sounds dumb when you say it. So how do you tell somebody that,
without them thinking you're crazy?
Yeah, because like I'm already beating myself up and I didn't want to hear it from somebody else. Like, so it was hard. So I kind of just dealt with a lot of it for a while, but it crept in. It creeps in slowly where it's like little things that you don't notice. And then I think for me, what it was too was that idea of like perfectionism.
Yep.
That really played a key role, I think, in a lot of it. Being a new mother, like every mother is always terrified that like now I'm responsible for keeping this child alive. And I guess, I don't know. I was terrified of every little thing. And my poor mother, who raised 4 children, like couldn't even pick him up properly the way I thought it should have been, So it was.
Did she understand where you were coming from? Like it was like,
yes and no.
Because I can assume if I maybe encountered somebody and didn't know, I mean, obviously if you don't know how to approach a situation, but like, don't worry, I raised 4 kids. I can pick them up. I know how to do it, but it doesn't soothe your mind.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was like that. But after a while, she started to realize. So she was more comforting some days. Some days I probably annoyed the shit out of her, Yeah. So it was those kind of things where those little things crept up and then it got into a big thing for me. Then it just got like, it spiraled for me. Everything like blew up, I found. And then I started doing counseling. Because I want to understand what was going on with me, like
for sure.
What I was thinking, why I was feeling like that. I started reading like every book that could possibly give me answers, like in different genres, like self-help,
parenting, maybe.
Parenting, yes. Spirituality, different things like that. Those ones at the time were the ones that helped because my mother being,
who she is.
Who she is in her line of work. I could relate and understand those more. So those ones really, really helped. It was like The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I don't know how to say his name. There were a few by Louise Hay. Like they were easier to grasp and they got me to understand like, okay, like from a thinking level.
Not like scientific, like jargon kind of,
Yeah. So I started to realize, okay, well, on a mental or not even a mental, well, yeah, it was a mental thing at the time because what am I thinking? What am I creating? What am I doing every day? So every day I'm waking up and it sounds horrible. And sometimes it feels like almost like it's a blame on yourself and it's not, it's a choice. But I kind of felt like every day I'm choosing to continuously think bad thoughts.
Yeah.
About everything. Like that my child is going to die, or I'm not good enough as a mother to protect him, take care of him, whatever. Something bad's going to happen. So, and other things, whatever at the time, the stress of life and whatever. So, those books really helped me to realize like, oh, I have a choice.
You have control. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I all these crazy ass thoughts that keep coming through my head, I don't have to think that. Like, I didn't realize that. I just thought I was just that this is it. Like,
this is my life and I'm going to be,
And it does. It plays on you after a while because it gets very daunting. It gets very like you feel helpless and everything. So those ones kind of gave me that, like, some hope and delight.
Yeah.
And so, but it created like that spark where I started getting more interested, thinking like, okay, well, I need to know more about this now. Like, so I had just started like reading more and more, trying to understand myself and how the things that they were saying pertain to me and what I was doing basically to myself every day, you know. And I did notice it started to lift little bits at a time. I was seeing a therapist, so it was very good to talk with her and bounce some of those things off. At the time, I was afraid of medicines. I was afraid of doctors a little bit because I was more afraid like people would deem me
as less than somebody who needs help, somebody who might have to go somewhere, somebody might have to take medication. All those things that prevent people.
Those things where it's like, as a parent, like, are they going to judge me and say, well, you're unfit? You know?
All those things that people are afraid of, and reasons why some people don't go and ask for help because they're afraid that people are going to look at them in a certain way and judge them based on the worst of what could have potentially be what you're going through.
So that was all that jazz going on at the time. So it started getting better and better here and there. My therapist, we were joking, she's like, well, you did take the harder way, but you know, you're getting there. So I managed. I got through it, obviously. Things were okay. It was getting better. It wasn't as consuming kind of thing. And then I had my daughter, which was fine for a little while. I wasn't as nervous. I was a second parent now, like second time parent.
And the age difference between the two are?
3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when she turned 2, it started again.
And did you know right away? Like, did you?
I was worried.
I was worried. But were you worried from the moment she was born to then, or just as it creeped up to 2 years old?
It wasn't really like something I anticipated because I didn't realize anything at the time. It's now after the fact and looking back and seeing like the pattern of it. But it was around 2 years old when it started. So I was like, well, I guess it could have been hormones. It could have been, you know, I don't know how postpartum. I've never really checked or asked or whatever. Still, I don't really know. But to me, that's my assumption is at 2 years old for the two of them, that's when my anxieties, I went through my own crap.
And it's interesting because at 2 years old is when children start to be more exploratory, trying to do things themselves, reaching, I mean, not necessarily leaving, but physically, like, I'm going to go on the playground now, Ista, like, that's okay. You don't have to help me so much. And they're not afraid.
Yeah.
It's when they hit like, but it's really like when they hit 4 or 5, the idea of stranger danger, different things, like people, like they tend to regress and be like, I'm not going to go. Like, cause like you see a lot of kids who go to nursery, their new place, they hide behind their parents. Right. But then a lot of kids who are going to sometimes daycare or whatnot, or meeting new people when they're younger, they're not as afraid to go. So that's interesting to see, like at 2 years old, that this is what happened. And maybe like, you know, like, oh my God, you're going up too fast, you know, like that kind of something, but who knows? Yeah.
Like triggering and stuff like that. But yeah, that's definitely like by the time my daughter came around, I can't remember now when it was at its worst. I think it was like after my son in that time, because then once my daughter came, it did get bad again. But then I had some tools. Yeah. I had continued with my therapist, just working on it, reading, practicing, like I practice like mindfulness, meditation.
That is work.
I guess. It is work.
It's work.
And that's what was hard. At the time, I remember thinking like I don't know if I
you
could
have to be so conscious before that. Yeah.
I had to continuously like think about what I was thinking constantly. And because I really obviously didn't want to live like that. And I was afraid to take medications, and I kind of like looked, not in any judgment or whatever, this was only for me. I looked at it like I thought that the medications were only a Band-Aid. So I looked at it like, well, if you're just going to medicate me, I'm not fixing my problem. Like I want to find out what is causing, my emotions, the fears or whatever. So it started, that's where it kind of started. I just kept doing the therapy and doing, like triggers and whatever. So a lot of that really did help. And then it actually went away. Like I got to the point where I was able to function, and I can't say that like the anxiety is gone. That, I think when you have anxiety, that's one thing that you have to realize is that it's usually going to be there, but the way you manage it and the way you cope with it is different. It's not scary anymore. I was afraid of the fear
in the beginning.
Yeah. And I was afraid of the feelings, and I was afraid of how I felt when I was having like anxiety attacks. I remember like having a full-blown anxiety attack at about 3 a.m. and calling my brother and laying on the couch, and he had to just talk me down. I had to teach Greg like different words to say to me.
Like strategies and ways to help you to do that, because something you can't just go like everything's okay. Just breathe and do whatever. I mean, like if you're crying, I can see that you need to breathe, so I can say that. But if I'm like trying to pat your back or something, like it's everyone's different, right?
Because it's like, for me, it was very tunnel vision. And I think a lot of people go through similar, but everyone has their own symptoms, their own triggers, their own whatever. So it unfortunately becomes very individual, but there are like common things because physically there's certain things that happen in your body. So, but yeah, I had to learn but even that, I had to learn how to like positive self-talk so that I could teach Greg what to say to help me through whatever, But even now he's like to the point where he can tell like if I'm starting, he'll be like, well, maybe you should start like, have you been breathing? Have you been like taking time? I'm like, no. So, but yeah, it took a lot of work to get there. It wasn't easy in the beginning, and especially when you don't know what the hell's going on with you, I really thought I was going crazy.
For sure. I can imagine. I mean, I can only imagine.
Yeah. I really thought I was like losing my mind. It was funny. I remember going into my therapist's room once, and I went in there. I was like, okay, I think I have OCD. And I think it's like this and this, it's kind of like this. And I used to get intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
That would create more of my anxiety. So I kind of like, I sat there and I just like self-diagnosed, and I told her like, I ran down the list of everything that I had, and she just like kind of looked at me. She never agreed. She never said yes or no to any of it. Because at that point, I don't think any of it really mattered as long as I was working through it. But I could just see her face kind of like, what the hell? But I was doing my research at that point, and I noticed in the beginning of it all, when I was reading the spiritual books, those kind of things helped. I forget, I was reading other things, but I could not read anything scientific about anxiety because it would make me more anxious.
Yeah. It's like that thing when they say, if you have something wrong with you, don't go to WebMD. Like all those things, it makes like, oh my God, I got this, I got that. Yeah.
Exactly. Because now it was like
too much information almost.
Exactly. And then I was like, thinking I whatever. But once I started doing little bits and reading little bits, then I started to understand anxiety a little bit more. My own, anyways, not in a general way, but my own. And I started to see, okay, I relate with this. I don't really fit in this category, but I feel this, So that's when I went and I self-diagnosed. I told my therapist what was wrong with me. So, but she laughed and whatever. But yeah, so some of it creeps in once in a while. And just recently
started. But there was a lot of stuff going on. Like you said, there are a lot of things going on. So
yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on, but yeah.
Yeah. So, but it was just like, I think the biggest thing for me was learning the tricks that I had learned. Like my therapist was amazing at the time. She did a lot of different techniques. And she was very respectful that I was afraid of like the medication. She never pushed. She never, like went beyond where I was comfortable. But she did teach me like the little things, like things that I like now I know, and I forget that maybe other people don't know that, like where as simple as breathing and why. I remember we had like during COVID, because so many people had were going through anxieties, we had like a little Zoom group chat with all the anxious people
that you knew, or just that
in general. I think it was just like an open thing. So we were all sitting there, and I remember just talking about how how important it is to breathe. You always hear that, like, oh, just breathe. And a few of them, there was one lady I remember saying, she was like, I never realized why you're supposed to breathe. So it kind of made me feel, I was like, true. Like sometimes you just don't, you just hear it. Okay, breathe and whatever, but you don't really know why. So what I had learned with my counselor at the time was that, when you're in a fight or flight, you physically, it's the chemicals, everything that's pumping through your body basically shuts down your mind in a sense, because now you are in survival mode and your only goal is to protect yourself or whatever. So the rationale is not there. You cannot think clearly. You can't make conscious, like clear, rational decisions. It's only fight or flight. That's all you're focused on. So you have to breathe so that you can bring down those levels of whatever the chemicals, I can't remember. And then you can calm your body so that you can start to make rational decisions. Yeah.
Or even here, like it's the same thing with a child when they're freaking out.
Yes, same thing.
You can't take that rattle and be like, here, it's in your face. Da-da-da. Like it makes it, it's overstimulation. But the child themselves are overstimulated. They have those same kind of hormones and things, chemicals in their body. And you have to literally just let them do what they got to do, because they don't necessarily know how to self-regulate yet. Some do, but that's the same thing. And then once they're calm, then you can talk to them rationally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the same. Like you can't really even talk to yourself rationally. Yeah. I used to kind of like look at it like it is a wheel. So it's like when my mind was going really
on the hamster wheel,
I had to learn like certain keywords, I guess, that were fulfilling for myself or that would kind of made me feel safe or whatever. And that was actually one of them. Like I used to tell myself like, I'm safe.
Yeah.
I'm okay. And then my body would start to listen to my mind after a while. So I had to constantly remember that, like mind body connection, that whatever I'm thinking, my body is listening to that and reacting to it. Because if you sit there and you think of something super scary, super awful, and do that, which is what we do constantly to ourselves by a lot of what we see, what we think, our upbringing, our beliefs about ourselves, those are things that we just constantly play on autopilot. So sometimes it does take mental work to sit there and be like, you know what, I am safe. I'm okay. Like I feel great. And you have to kind of take back the reins and you have to do it. And it is work. It feels like work in the beginning because it's not. Unfortunately, I don't know why. Our brains, I think it is a way of protection.
For sure, yeah.
But we do tend to go to the negative right away because it's a way of survival. So we do have to like kind of help ourselves and do the whole positive thinking. So that was a big thing. It was that was Louise Hay, like her books that I had read, positive affirmations and things like that. And at first I was like, this is bullshit. I felt like it was corny, like in the beginning, because I was like,
why would I talk to myself?
And I was like, like
talking to yourself in the mirror and saying positive things about yourself is one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
And so they
still
say
uncomfortable.
Yeah. Like they say, like, I mean, one of the easy ways is to just read what it says. Like you put up a Post-it and it says like, you're going to have a great day today.
Yeah.
You are beautiful. And it's hard for people to do that, let alone like when I was in the Netherlands, we had to do that in front of a mirror with another artist. And you had to say, I am an artist. I do good work. Like, and it was like, it's corny, but
yeah. And if you pay attention to your body, even your whole body, like,
and she'd say, you have to stand straight. You say it. And I'd like to teach, like when I hang out with teachers or people or even if they're getting ready to do something. I said, stand in the Superman pose.
Yeah.
Like, Grey's Anatomy, the same thing. Like, I mean, it's a true thing where if you stand
it's a confidence thing,
in a way, and it sends, even now, like I'm sitting up straighter, it sends your nerves in your head and that you can feel a tingle and you feel like, I got it, you know, like, and so, yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely like doing that. Like, it did work though after a while. And I remember reading something where it said like, it'll even feel like you're lying to yourself, but just keep doing it because you don't believe that. Like, I don't like, whatever your conditioned beliefs are about yourself.
Yeah. Your self-talk.
It goes away, it goes against that grain. Yeah. So it's kind of like really uncomfortable to do in the beginning, but it is super important to do. And it's
impactful. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. It really, really did help. But yeah, those were the steps. It was like, there were more, the breathing, the self-talk, and the body check-ins. That was the other thing that I had to learn that I wasn't aware of. I wasn't aware of my body. I wasn't aware of my feelings, of my my physical feelings, my emotional feelings. I wasn't aware of any of that. I was just like on
shut down. Yeah.
Yeah. Autopilot constantly. And for me, I think this part really helped me the most with my panic attacks when I was actually in an anxiety attack. I learned how to like feel my body, I guess, in a sense, where it was like, okay, am I clenched? Like, am I holding any tightness anywhere? For me, I noticed that I tend to run on like a mile a minute in a sense, where my body, like, say if I'm in the shower, I'm washing my hair like as if like I'm going to lose power in 2 seconds and have no hot water.
Oh, okay.
Everything that I do
is amplified and speeds up.
Is sped up. So I kind of always have to remind myself, like, you don't have to rush. Like I'm always rushing to the next thing constantly, which, try doing that constantly. It creates stress and it creates more manic.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's one thing, like now that I know it, like, okay, relax, you don't have to do this, so it's those kind of things. So while I was knee deep in it all, that's what I used to really have to do. I would check in on my body. Like I would literally go from my toes, my feet, ankles, shins, and all the way up my whole body, and just check in and see like, okay, do I have any tension there? I would let it go. And then sometimes though, it's like when you're in that state, it's that hamster wheel. You can calm it for a few seconds and then it starts again. And then you feel almost like a failure, like, well, I did it and now it's back again. So I would have to.
And sometimes it feels safe. Like a lot of times, like it feels safe to be clenched like that. Like your body, and you don't even notice because you do that in a way to protect yourself.
Yeah.
So it feels safe, but it's not good.
No, because
at all for your body and your mind, for sure.
Yeah, because for how I learned with my stuff was that my mind or my body was triggering my anxiety. So my mind, what was I thinking? What was my body doing? So if I was clenched, maybe I didn't have a thought or whatever, but now my body is like that. And now it's sending like something's wrong.
Yeah.
So now I got to react. So that's what would happen. So I was always like, it was freaking exhausting. Like
I can imagine. I mean,
to try to constantly, it was constant doing that back and forth, like for, I want to say maybe 2 years. So, or more, maybe 3. But yeah, like the body scans, the body checking in, always checking in with that. Those were my major
ways to like help self-regulate
with a lot of it. So, but yeah, just recently it started coming back again. So I think that's probably why I'm like, a little bit too. But I've noticed though now, like if I'm having a panic attack, it sounds weird. I still have them. It's not that I get rid of it. It's not that it just goes away, because once your body is triggered, your body has to go through it. It physically has to go through the motions to
get through the other side. Like it's like you have to go through it to get to,
The biggest thing that my brother had ever taught me, and if anyone ever has anxiety attacks or panic attacks, I don't exactly know how to explain how to do it. But if you can find that for yourself, it is probably one of the best tools. But my brother always just said, don't fight it.
Yeah. It's the same thing like when you go into labor. The second time, the first time you don't know what to do. The second time for me, I knew what was coming and I just rode that wave.
Yeah. And it's when you're in it though, and when you're panicking and when you
have to tell yourself.
Well, because you don't always even know what the hell, like I remember going through it and I was like, well, what do you mean? Just, like don't fight it. Like just surrender to it. What the hell does that even mean? So I was always like, shut the hell up. I don't know what the hell that means, like, so after a while I just found out. And it's basically like, because when I was having anxiety, I was already like, like everything was clenching up and I was like trying to stop it in any way, but not realizing that clenching and all of that was making it worse.
Yeah.
So physically, I would just kind of sit there and just let the whole fear basically wash over my whole body. It would just like consume my whole body. But then mentally, I was like, oh, okay. Like, then you can kind of evaluate it and sit with it. And it was uncomfortable, but I was like, okay, I'm not dying though. And I'm not going crazy.
I'm having a panic attack.
Yeah. And then you can name it. And the second I learned how to start doing that, it was like a weird experience where it's happening, but then I'm sitting, it's almost like, okay, I'm sitting on the couch watching it happen.
Yeah.
And then I'm just waiting for it to pass.
Yeah.
So I wasn't actively involved in it anymore. So it was still there, but I wasn't partaking. So it really did help. Like it is practice though. You have to, and it's just like anything else, like use it or lose it kind of thing.
Yes.
So you do have to practice it, and there is a lot of maintenance, and it just becomes a way of life after a while, like the breathing, the meditating. For me, beadwork was that outlet. Because it's mindless, it shuts your mind off. You can kind of...
Once you get past that part where you need your brains, like to design and find color, but once it's something,
emotions,
it's emotion.
Now you're just going through the motions and all of that. So, so that's like, that was the main tricks for me when I was going through hell.
Yeah.
Like how I got through all of it, how I still continue to go through it. Yeah. Like recently though, I do have to say, like, I haven't been really... Maintaining. So it is like, that's
is it like when you ride a high, like you're, I'm doing good. Like you don't realize like I'm doing good. And then it comes and then it slowly goes down, but you're not necessarily aware. You think, oh, it's just like whatever, just like life. Yeah. And then it just kind of takes a little bit over, not too much though, but yeah.
And some, like for me, I know like now I also know too, like my body a little bit more, where before like I said, I was afraid of medications and I wasn't really I was going to my doctor, but not like now I'm like, oh my God, something's wrong. Like, like, oh, I don't care. I'll go see her for anything. But the first thing I think of because just a few months ago when my anxiety started again, and it felt more like out of the blue, I was like, wait, what the hell is this? Where'd this come from? It's like
your friend reappeared, like, whoa.
I was like, ooh. I'm like, you know what? I got to go and check my iron. So I did, and it was very low. So those are other things too. You have to keep track of your body and your health and things like that. So my iron was very low, which does play into a lot of it. Having low vitamin D,
yes,
also plays into it.
On your skin for 10 minutes at least.
Yes.
If you can.
Different. Those little things like really do play a major part in your mental health. So, I had to go and get all that checked and then get, like, I'm still on my medications for it, for my iron and all of that. So, but yeah.
Reminds me, I have to do all that kind of stuff too. I get blood tests.
Like even that thyroid, that's another thing. Like I, knock on wood, thankfully, my mother has had issues. Like they had to remove her thyroid completely. So that's something I always have to have checked.
Yeah.
I haven't had any issues with that, but that I was always like, but sometimes I was like, oh my God, maybe it's my iron, or maybe it's my thyroid, and then they'll fix it and it'll all be good. And it's not. It's
work. It's your whole body. Your whole body needs,
And that is it. It is your physical, your mental, your emotional, your spiritual, everything. Like for me, I started learning like when one's out of whack, they're all going to start.
Yeah.
So you're not just a body, you're not just a mind, you're not just a spirit or whatever, whatever you believe in, but you have to maintain all of those things, and ask yourself, what are you doing to help those aspects of yourself?
And what are you doing that might be attributing to maybe not having that peaceful mind or that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that might be stopping you from enjoying life.
Yeah.
Too, yeah.
And sometimes it's well, I don't know. Like for me, sometimes it was as simple as not making a decision that needed to be made and living in shit or hell or
stewing in it, kind of.
Yeah, like I do remember, not to knock anybody, but I was working in a job that I was no longer happy in. So those kind of things, but that's a major life change.
Yeah,
that's scary. Yeah. So it was
making a decision that would ultimately be better for your mental, for your health or your overall health. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all the bullshit. But no, that's, and it is major. Like I am bringing it up because
there's a lot of people who suffer from those kind of things. Like I suffered from anxiety, maybe not to the extent of yours. And even in the midst of it, maybe not knowing, but during COVID, when my father passed away, I had a hard time but I think I had a hard time before too. And I finally learned how to breathe. Like I went to do something with some people and I was like, oh my God, I was never breathing from my stomach. I was like just breathing.
Shallow breathing. Yeah.
And didn't know I was breathing for like 15 years that way or however long it was, like 10 years. And I had no idea. And then it came out and everything came out and I was a wreck. But then I knew. And then like when you know better, you do better. But you still have to work at it. It's nothing that just comes innately sometimes. So
my brother always used to tell me, like, for those of you who don't know, my mother and my brother also work the same. Like they, so he always has like all these like philosophical things. I'm like, all right, whatever. Nah.
These isms.
Yeah. But he was just kind of like, he's like, when you're dumb, you're dumb. And when you get smarter, then
that's what.
You can't go back to being dumb anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he was like, because I always used to get so afraid. I was like, because I was making all this headway at the time. I remember like feeling, I would get those highs like, oh my God, I feel better. Like I'm like the anxiety is not like taking over my whole day anymore. And like, I can think a little bit clearly and then something triggers it. And then my mind goes right back to it.
Yeah.
So my brother's like, yeah, but you're aware of it now.
Yeah.
He's like, whereas before you weren't. So you would just go right back into it and living that
manic state or whatever that state.
He's like, so you're smarter now. You can't go back to being dumb. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay. So, and even that gave me more hope because I was like, every time I learn something, I'm adding another tool.
Yeah.
I'm also strengthening a new, it's kind of like in your brain, the way my therapist she said, like you're hardwiring your brain.
Oh, yes.
Because in your brain,
it's like you're rewiring your brain to think a different way, not like you have been relying on for this whole time. Yeah.
She said, like, just picture it as like these little pathways in your brain. And she's like, you've only been going through these same ones constantly. You've been going down the same road because you know how, because it's safe, because that's what you know. So she's like, now you're starting to branch out a little bit. And she's like, but it stops. And she's like, then you jump back on your old road.
Yeah.
She's like, but every time you remember and you do it, you build another few feet, another few feet. And then she's like, until now that becomes your new road.
Yeah.
So she's like, that's the work of it,
and every road needs maintenance.
Exactly. And you have to remember, that it's always like, you are strengthening it. So it does get better because I remember thinking like, this is never getting better, like this is it.
But when you're knee deep, that's what you think, right?
Yeah.
You can't, or like when you're like, you can't see above water.
Yeah. And it does, like, I don't know, like.
None of us are professionals. So if you need to talk to somebody, well, all joking aside, then please like go seek professional guidance from whoever it is you feel comfortable with, or just tell somebody else you're not feeling the greatest, or let somebody in, let that little bit of guard down.
Because it's definitely not something you can really do alone. Because when you're on your own road, it's hard to
to get off, especially
because your own beliefs and whatever. So, but yes. So now things are a little bit better. Like I'm okay. Like I've been okay. I know I'm okay, but it's just for me, it's stress. It's stress levels. Like I always live stressfully in a sense, I guess. Like
you feel,
but not
okay.
Not like crazy, but then it's like when your kid's going through surgery and like when
the other one has to be somewhere and you got to be this and maybe,
It's those kind of things like the build up after a while, like, and if I'm not doing my maintenance and like taking time to be calm and like just to, unplug, then it climbs. So. Yeah, so that's probably why I'm not beading.
All that to say.
Yeah. So long story short, I ain't beading.
Not taking orders?
Yeah. Oh, Christ. Yeah. So all of that fun stuff. But I'm hoping like just to kind of get over this hump and then I'll make something marvelous.
You'll finish what you have and then be guilt-free.
Yeah.
And then be literally creatively free to do whatever it is that you want.
Yeah. And even that, like what I'm working on,
Are you going to Gonond again this year?
I don't know.
You're going to try? I don't know. I don't have anything.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Just because I don't think so, to be honest, because I really do want to have a sale at the store.
Oh, yes, that's right. We didn't even mention that.
Yeah. So we are planning a sale at the shop the 23rd of November.
I thought you were going to say October. I was like, no.
No, but that's very close to Gonond again. So
yes.
And I don't want the extra pressure right now. So, but yeah, like even like I said, like the things I'm working on right now are not that I dislike any of it. It's not. It's just that I just can't do any of it. I just physically cannot do it. My brain's just not there. So, but yeah, hopefully I'm gonna get there and get back to life.
In time when you're ready. I mean, And the stress of it all it's for somebody else, or if it's not, it's not worth it in the end. I guess it's not worth it to worry about that stress because it's something that.
Yeah, and it'll get done. But I did say like I am going to. We were talking about this in the shop with Dagwa, but I was saying that once. Were you there? I don't know if you were there. I know Carrie Lane was there, but anyways,
I think I was there.
I was saying that once I'm done, I complete these things. I'm making myself a pair of moccasins finally. Because I don't have a pair.
I don't think I was there for that part of the conversation.
I think it was just the three of us, but I don't have anything. And I was like, every year I keep saying I'm going to have something for harvest. And then I never have anything. So harvest is now, they made officially the day. Yeah, I saw.
I think it's the 14th or 17th. I'll probably have
it for maybe midwinter.
Which reminds me, I have to make something for somebody.
Add it to the list. See, even that.
I just forgot.
Right now, I've been saying for the past maybe month and a half, make your list so you can see so that it's not swimming.
Are you telling me or are you telling yourself?
Me,
myself. Okay. Well, then I got to make a list. And I need a calendar.
I
hate to say that, but I don't ever use a calendar. But
neither do I.
I always buy one, but now I need one that's a big one. Yeah. I should just get my journal.
And get it done.
See, anyways. Now I feel guilty again because I'm not writing my journal.
Oh, lovely.
Not journal like my thoughts, like my agenda. Should I say my agenda?
My agenda.
My agenda.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
That's making a list. So 2 things for listeners to do. 3 things. 1, have grace for yourself. 2, if you're going through hard times, let somebody else know it's don't ever feel like you're a burden, because the people who love you will not think you're a burden. They'll be happy to know that you're reaching out to them. Mm-hmm. And 3, make your lists. Yeah. Because that helps too with stress to see them crossed off, and also just to put your thoughts out there and be organized, whatever list that is,
Yeah. That's what I have. Like, I want to post it. I didn't make a big deal about it yet,
but she will.
Well, it's not even that big of a deal.
Well, it might be. It might help.
That brings me joy.
It might help somebody. That's the funny thing is it will.
I bought just like a little board from what's that called? Michael's, I think, and it's supposed to be a sign. Really, I think like whatever. But I really liked it for like a beading tray.
Okay.
So I started using it, but then I was like, I started getting stickers like from different.
Oh yeah,
and stickers that I like that, whatever. So I started like putting them on. I was like, oh, I like this, but and it makes me feel good. I don't know, it's so weird. So, but now I'm like, I want to put a little paper on there so that I have my list, so that I can just. It'll always be there because every time I'm beading, I'm like, if I don't have my book or whatever, so I'm like, I'll just. Yeah. Or even to the backside of it, just to tape it on, and then I could see and I could start crossing things off. So I've been saying that for about 2 months now, and I'll get there.
So just like some people put stickers on their laptops, that's what she's saying. She puts stickers on her beading tray. Mm-hmm. So yeah. And I put my stickers on my books when I have them. My agendas, my beading. Like we are going like al fresco. We have no books.
No, nothing.
We have no notes.
Yeah.
But we've had a lot to talk about. So I mean, yeah,
just
we
winging it. But it is. It's like it's crazy how much people do suffer from anxiety. It's not a taboo thing anymore, where it was like nobody talked about it or whatever. Like everybody, like I'm not gonna mention names or say anything, but even just this week, like sitting at softball watching some of the other games, like a friend of mine, we were just sitting there and openly talking, like I have no shame about any of this, because if it can help somebody else, then why the hell not? You know? And I also respect people who want to remain private too. But we were talking, and it was funny how it drew all these other people in to the point where I think there was 4 other people other than us all talking about our anxiety and how it affects us differently, and all of the different symptoms even that people go through. Like at the time when I was going through mine, like I couldn't eat. I kept feeling like I would have to, like, I would be sick. I would shake. I would like almost like convulse type. That's how I felt. Like I had no control over my body, and I would just be shaking constantly. I had lost a lot of weight because I couldn't really eat. I was losing like my hair was thinning because I would probably just whatever hormones, the stress and everything. My skin was horrible because of that. Probably also because of the low iron, all of that fun stuff. But, and your stomach, like I always thought I'd have to either go to the bathroom or I was going to throw up. Yeah. It was constantly like that. Like
upset stomach.
Yeah. It just creates that,
it's those chemicals are literally released in your body. It's like acid.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel not good.
Yeah. And then just body aches. I was constantly tired because it's exhausting going through that.
All to say is that we hope that everyone takes care of themselves, breathes, gets lots of water. We didn't talk about the necessary things of water. That's my total downfall. When I'm stressed, I don't drink water. I just drink caffeine because, that's the spice of life, I guess, not good. But yeah, so, take care of yourself, talk to your friends, talk to anybody, get some hugs. Because a lot of times when you feel anxiety, you don't want you want people touching you, but get some hugs. People need hugs.
Yeah, it is. There's an actual chemical that really releases. Yeah. Yeah. And it is.
It's good.
But it is. It's important to know all those things and to research them and do little bits at a time, what you can hold and manage.
And just know that not every shoe fits everyone. So to find things that you need to do and to seek professional, whoever that professional help it might be, or who that professional might be. Nothing to be ashamed about. If you see somebody struggling, try to do your best to do what you can and whatnot. And and just be kind to yourself, have grace. And hopefully next month we will have made a little bit of progress on some beading projects. And if not, oh, wow, that's okay too. So what do you want to, I guess that's it. I guess. I don't know. We kind of had some technical difficulties, so we kind of just have gotten lost off track. So we're just going to end it here. It might not be, we don't know where we ended or what will be the last thing we said, but have a good day, everybody. Good night. Nyawa. Ona.
Ona.
The views and opinions of the guests expressed in this podcast do not reflect those of Redeewase and its employees.